everyone needs someone to complement their weaknesses. But here's the thing. You have to give them permission to speak to your weaknesses or you'll be offended by it.
When is it time to give up on your relationship, on your union, on your marriage? As a man of faith and as a man, period.
Yeah.
Is it a time to give up? And when is it a time to give up?
One of the things that I believe that men fear the most is rejection. And so correction is often a sign of rejection. You're rejecting who I am. And trying to convert me to who you want me to be. Like if you understand that thought, then it's now how do I speak to the king inside of him that he may not see?
Yo, say that one more time.
Like,
what do you honestly think as a man? And
Okay.
I don't want you speaking generally. I want you to speak as the man you are, the man, M-A-N. What do you think are the keys? Give us 3 keys to a successful relationship. You know, that reminds me of that Music Soul Child song, man. Let me sing a line real quick.
do your thing.
I'll love you when your hair turns gray, yeah. I'll still love you if you gain a little weight, yeah. The way I feel for you will always be the same as long as your love don't change.
Love it. Love it.
YouTube, don't copyright me. I know I sound just like him.
Say, yeah.
Welcome, YouTube family. This is your guy, Sealz, the man. And I told y'all I was going to pivot in my content. I told y'all I was going to give y'all something legendary, classic, great. So what I will be doing is doing one-on-one conversations with men of integrity and honor, great men, good men. And here today I have one of my best friends, brothers from another mother, Marcus Jackson.
Bro, hey. Thanks for having me on your show. Like, I'm glad to see. Excited to see what you're doing, man. So let's do it.
Hey, man. I'm just excited, bro. So I hope y'all enjoy this. Y'all will enjoy this because this is your guy, Sealz the Man. Of course, you enjoy everything I make, right? All right. So, MJ, let's just start with, tell us about yourself, man.
About me? Yeah. Well, you know all about me. Yeah, I guess your audience don't. Marcus, yeah, my name Marcus Jackson. Married, wife with three beautiful kids. Man, we're just
family.
like we're great family. Like we're doing it, like we're making it, and we're doing it together. So it makes a world of difference.
Awesome. But what you guys don't know, he's being humble right now. What you guys don't know, he's also a pastor of his own church, a man of God, man of faith. He's doing big things. So that's why I have him here. I wouldn't have anybody just here, because this is a very legendary space. So he's the man for this episode. So let's get straight into it. But before I get into it, you guys follow me on all social media, Sealz the Man, at Sealz the Man on everything. And also go to my website, iamsealz.com, and get that merch. Check out my videos on there. And I will be starting a podcast from this episode as well. So if you want to listen to me on your drives to work or your destinations, we can do that too. So your guy Sealz, he's working, man. We're building, we're doing things. I told you we was going to pivot. So let's get to it, man. So today we're going to talk about, like I always talk about, understanding the mind of good men of honor, solid men. And MJ is here. He's going to tell me, he's going to reinforce, he's going to let y'all know his perspective on that as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about, since you are married, you've been married for a while now.
10 years, bro. 10 years. Yeah.
Decade. See, this guy knows he knows what he's doing, right? So he has to talk about it. So first thing I want to ask you is with marriage, what are some things that, you think women should know about their man if they want a successful relationship or marriage or a union, period?
Bro, I'd say definitely setting the right expectations, right? Like most people know what they think they want, but actually don't have a clue to what that really plays out to be. And so when you think you want something and you go looking for the thing you think you want, it's hard to find. And so when you don't find what you're looking for, you keep looking and you find yourself looking for a very long time because the right expectations often aren't set. So I think one thing I'd say is really like what are the expectations? Like, what are you really looking for? And don't wait till you get older to realize, man, I got to start to check some things off my list because it's not working. Right. Like, what are the things that you're really looking for? And like set the right expectation, or like get the right ear, or right ear, so that you can move forward, right? Like if you're looking for a successful, not so much a successful relationship, but more of like you want the person that you're willing to live your life with together. Like what are those expectations?
So I think that's a big thing that because I created this channel for my two young nieces, so that when they come of age, they'll know the game, right? So they won't get played. They'll won't waste their time, whatever. So, and I like what you said there, but in relation to women, right? To young women like my nieces, or to older women who are in this situation where they're in relationships or marriages, do you think they should go into the relationships based on what you just said, knowing what they want, or having expectations, or solid expectations, and sticking to that?
So here's the thing. You can have your expectations, but everyone is growing, everyone's learning, right? So if I'm growing and I'm learning who I am at 36, I'm not the same guy I was when I was 26.
Right.
And so as I'm growing and I'm learning, and listen, I can't speak for all men, but I can speak for me and how it worked for me.
Right.
When I started dating my wife now, it was like I wasn't like, oh man, we're going to get married tomorrow. It was, all right, I got to get to know them and understand her qualities and her traits, and if this is something that's worth developing, like this is what I'm going to go after. And there's always things that you're like, man, I don't know if that's really going to work, right? Like, but it's like, what are you looking for? What are your non-negotiables really? And like kind of going after it. Like, how do I know what I want? These are my expectations, but is my expectations built in reality, or is it built in Hallmark? Right? Is it built in a movie I saw?
Disney movies.
Or is it built in, like, this is the world that we live in now? Like, how do we do this together?
That's a bar. I hope y'all heard that.
Because it's completely different. This is a completely different train of thought.
Yeah, that's true, because a lot of people base their expectations based on one, for what their mom and dad tell them that they should marry, and who they should have. And Sister Allie down the street got a son. I think you would be perfect, bro. You don't even know him, and you barely know me. You don't know how we would, if we even have chemistry. Two, movies and all this, constructs made by society. And so it is. Yeah. It's like, I agree with you. It's like, I feel like you have, not just women, but I feel like you have to know yourself in order to know what's best for you.
Yeah.
How can you know the yin to your yang if you don't know your yang, So,
and it's also based on, like, how they saw their parents. Right? And it's, I don't want this, or I want this because I saw that. Right? And so there's a lot of expectations built on, where our expectations are built on our experiences. And so, but our experiences don't often shape our reality. So it's often looking at the two and saying, how do we do this? Like, how do I set the right expectations in my reality, and not really based on, like, what's going on around me.
Right. That's awesome, man. So, piggybacking off of that positivity and trying to make successful. What do you honestly think as a man? And I don't want you speaking generally. I want you to speak as the man you are, the man, M-A-N. What do you think are the keys? I'm going to give you 3 keys, or give us 3 keys to a successful relationship.
Ooh.
Just 3 solid ones as a man. These things are only coming from a man point of view.
All right, let's think here. All right, 3 keys. I'll start 1. Understand and value. Right. The wife that I have today, my wife, my children, I understand their value. And if I understand their value, I'm not going to do anything to devalue who they are to me. Right? Like, that's simple. Like, if I have a wallet, I have no money in it. So if I take it home and I kind of just throw it to the side, it's different than when I have a wad of cash, right? Like, I'm gonna make sure I know where that is at all times because I value that. I have assigned worth to it. And so when you assign worth to anything you assign worth to, you kind of keep it close to you. You want it connected to you. So one of the things that I've been super intentional on is assigning great value to relationships, whether it's my wife or my kids, because I understand how much they're worth to me. So I'd say understanding the value in what you're putting in the relationship. 2, communication. People don't understand that the way you communicate changes over time. dependent on your proximity to people, right? Like if I'm close to you,
Right.
I'm going to begin talking like you,
Right.
Like
Right.
that becomes normal. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and they said, you know what? Every time you talk, I hear more of your wife in you, and I was like. Like, okay, like
I don't know how to take that, but I like it.
Okay, like
I like her.
I'll work with that, right? But
Yeah.
I realized because I spend time, and I
Yep.
talk to her,
Yeah.
and we vibe, we sit, we watch, like we're connected, and because
become
we're
one.
connected,
Right.
when she and when she talks, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna write that down because I like that, right? Like that's good, like
Bar.
that's good stuff.
Bars.
And so understanding that the way you communicate develops. The closer you spend, the more time you spend with each other. And so if you spend more time, you're going to start sounding more like whoever you're spending time with. And so you value that. I value that. I value communication and just understanding. I would say understanding how to love, understanding your love language.
So from a man's point of view, what do you think is the most functional way, healthy way for a man to learn how to love?
It depends because it's not a blanket. Like
Right.
it's not just like you do it this way. And so a while ago, my wife and I we read a book. She made me read it, but it was 5 Healthy Love Languages or something to that nature. And we realized her love language was quality time and acts of service. Mine was acts of service. So if I come home and the house is clean, I'm like, man, like you're speaking to my heart, right? Like that's the way I receive love, like, because you're helping me be better, right? Hers is quality time. So me coming home and just spending time with her makes a world of difference.
Right.
So if I come home and I put everything else to the side and I say, yo, let's watch a movie, boom. Like I'm speaking to her heart, like or hers also is act service. If I come home and I clean the house and I do something and I'm serving her in a way that it takes the load off of her, boom. Like so it's not just a blanket, but it's understanding how she received love. Others receive love by getting gifts or like whatever your love language is, being able to identify it and then speak to it, and then understanding that this is not. And what we often do is we give love the way we want to receive love.
Right.
And we have to understand that the goal isn't to give it the way you receive it, it's to give it the way the other person understands it. Right. So if your love language is quality time, I can't give you acts of service. Right. I have to spend quality time because that's how you receive love.
Right.
So understanding that, if you have a greater understanding of that, then you're able to kind of connect better. Right. So I guess that'd be my 3 things: identifying how to love, value, understanding the value, and just communicating. Open communication.
That's really important too, because I feel like we were talking about it off camera, but we were talking about like how you have to not only know yourself but know your partner, right?
Yeah.
And in knowing that, you're a fool if you try to force against their language of love or against their DNA or against how they like things, right? Definitely. And I feel like a lot of relationships are like that nowadays, where it's like either the man is too stubborn to compromise.
Yes.
Or the woman's used to a certain way based on how she was raised, or she's a daddy's girl and the daddy told her you should only do this or look for this in a man, or there's no compromise, there's no bridge between the two. So now it's like they have their own bridges to this vision of love, but they're not connecting it with each other. So now they're like on this parallel path, but also not just with a love with another person, but love with themselves.
Yeah.
So what's your? I talk about that a lot too. That love starts from within.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on the best way to prepare yourself for loving other things, but with yourself first? For those who don't, who struggle with that, or they don't know the true vision of love. But,
and it's tough because coming together in any relationship, it's really all of you and all of them, right? And so that's 2 broken people come together to be broken together, and find wholeness and healing, right? And so how do I begin to love myself? You got to understand yourself. I would say, like, understand yourself a little bit better. Like, what are your triggers? Like, understanding the things that are triggering you, whether good or bad. Like, understanding that.
Yeah.
Because if you understand the things that trigger, you know the things that you have to work on.
All right, being
You
honest.
know if your core, your true core, you're true to yourself, then you understand that, man, these are the things. This is how I cope. This is who I am. These are some things that I'm working on. Because I'm not living to be in a relationship. I'm living because I got purpose. Right.
That's a
like
bar.
if I live because I got purpose, then being in a relationship adds to that purpose. But if I'm just living, like I'm just living to get married or just living to have a spouse or children, like you're missing, like you're literally missing life. And so you got to understand that I have an identity outside of a relationship. Like I gotta still live. I still gotta be me. And in doing that, the goal is to be a better version of you every day.
Every day.
And as you become better, you just watch to see how like God opens doors.
Right.
But like we can't just complain about who we are and know something's wrong with us and just be like okay with it. But God sent me this person, or I want to be married, or I want to do something, I want a family, and you're not preparing yourself to be someone that like is ready to be committed in a relationship. So that's what I'd say, man. Like this, I definitely work on me. Like I take time and I'm like, all right, like I know my triggers. So how do I offset those? How do I dig deeper roots so that I don't have to so that I'm not falling apart. Like I'm not looking for somebody to put me back together. Like I'm a work in progress. So
You're not looking for a hero, and
bro, I don't need a hero.
trying to be saved,
and that's the thing. You get saved when you don't feel like you need to be saved. That right person is like, man, I'm speaking to the core of you instead of to what you're trying to show everybody else. So
that's a bar. That's a bar. Keeping on that pace of, faith, right? The godliness and love, right?
Yeah.
What is your importance of faith in your relationships? And I'm not saying you have to be religious, but how important are beliefs in unions, in relationships, friendships, business ships?
Yeah.
Like it's not just a romantic thing, but like how strong are your beliefs, and can two work out if they don't have the same beliefs or faith?
So yeah, Sealz told you I pastor a church in Piscataway, New Jersey, and so to me, faith is like ultimate. To me, it's core, it's foundational. It anchors, right? If we don't believe the same thing, then we have two different standards. And so while I'm working on one standard, you're working on a different standard because we don't have the same beliefs.
Right.
So to me, it's absolutely vital to have the same standard or set a standard that is attainable for both, right? And so for me, like when my wife and we may have a disagreement, we have a standard that we can go back to, and that'll anchor our relationship together because we know like this is who we are, right? And so whether it's a faith, like we can dream together because we have the same standard. Like we can, our conversation is fluid because we have the same standard. We have there's purpose in us combined because we have the same standard. And so so if there's two different levels of standards, if you don't believe the same way I believe, like you don't have hope. Like she's my biggest cheerleader because we have the same standard, right?
Goal, right?
Like I'm her biggest advocate because we have the same standard. We know what we're pushing for together, and we're going to go 100% for each other because of the standards. Because of the standards we set. The faith that we have, our faith in God, anchors us. Together, we have a solid foundation on which to grow on. And so, like for us, we raise our kids that same way. We are, and it's not just morality. Like it's just not like be a good person, but it's identifying your purpose. Why has God put us on this planet? Why did He put us together? Why did He bless us with these great kids? Like why did He do that? And it's not just so that we can have a great life, but we can impact people together. And so we make it like so. Our ambition is to be like completely transparent and impactful to people. And but we set that standard from the very beginning. The core of like we're just not going to we're not just trying to get rich or make money, but we're going to make a difference.
Okay.
And in making a difference, we understand, man, we're gonna do it. But that's the standard we set. So I believe that's what faith kind of does. It helps you set a standard of where we're going together.
Right. And it creates that cohesion of a similar end goal and finish line. So, go ahead.
No. And it brings us together when things are falling apart.
Oh,
right. Like it really
that's
brings
the
us
one.
Like the argument.
It ain't gonna be happy diddly all the time. Yeah.
It brings you together because you know what you're both fighting for together.
Right. So I would say I'm a graphic designer artist. So as you were speaking about how faith is like your foundation, the anchor, but as you know, it's kind of like water, the water level, right? You can go above the water or you can go below the water, but the anchor is going to be there. So even when you're on your highest of highs in your relationship with your wife, that anchor is still there. But even when you're below below the water level, below that level, and you're in the dumps, in the mud, that your anchor, know your buoyancy, know your right.
That's it.
So you're always going to come back to that middle ground. That's the visualizations that's your guy Sealz the Man. It's just.
Let me jump on that.
Jump on it, man.
An anchor is only good in friction. Like you can't anchor without resistance. It means nothing. Right. And so it's only activated when something is pulling against it. And so that's when. And please, in any relationship, there is going to be friction. Yes. But the thing that pulls you back together is the anchor. So, bro,
there's always going to there's always going to be a storm. It's going to get wavy sometimes, but that anchor is going to keep you. Bars, man. So, I mean, I understand that, but then there's a lot of relationships out there, a lot of relationships where the other person isn't part of the same faith as the other person, right? So I grew up in a household where my grandmother is a God-fearing, devout Christian, and my grandfather was not.
Okay.
He used to stay at home and he used to watch Matlock all day and and MASH. Yeah, I got to know these somehow, right? Yeah. So for those out there who are in relationships with people who aren't of the same faith, what do you say to that? To those who are struggling in those unions where they're trying to make it work, or they feel like it's too late to exit, to jump out the plane because they have children, or they have some kind of business ship together. What advice do you have for those types of unions? Because there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I'd say the conversation there has to be conversation.
Right. First off,
there has to be open conversation. And I do think we jump into relationships prematurely because we think that's the best we can do, right? And so understanding that I'm in this and I want to make this work. Right? How do I do this? How do I do this? And you can't make a relationship work with one person excited and one person not, right?
Facts.
And so there has to be a conversation, continual conversations like these, and conversations like. I know for me, I hate conversations. There's time I'm like, I don't want to talk about this
toughest
anymore.
thing ever.
Like, give me a break.
Don't talk to me.
But this is what I've learned. I've learned in the hard conversations to take a break, but come back to it. Mm-hmm. And I'm still trying to perfect that. I'm not the absolute best at it yet, but I'm still trying to learn that even in the most difficult conversations, it's okay to take a break from it. Say I need a gap, and I'll come back, but be sure to bring it back up and you start the conversation and kind of. But there needs to be more conversations on these difficult topics or difficult relationship struggles, right? But the conversation has to be open. Like there has to be fluid dialogue, continual any marriage, any relationship has to be fluid. It has to be continual. But I'd say listen. You gotta not only hear but listen. Mm-hmm. Be intentional in listening, and not listen to respond, but listen to understand. Because when you listen to respond, it turns into an argument.
Yep.
But when you listen to understand, it turns into compromise because now you're trying to get what they're putting down, right? So there's a difference, but I think the conversation needs to be ongoing and needs to be continual, and don't give up like that.
Right.
Don't give up on the conversation, no matter how resistant it may be.
And I think that's a common theme in those types of relationships where they both believe different things.
Yeah.
Because they know they believe in different things, so now they're scared to talk about those different things because, the unknown creates fear.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy because they live together.
Yeah.
Or they've been together for years and they still have that fear of being honest with each other and saying, "Hey, man, like I know I love you, but like we're on two different." I guess that could be scary for a lot of people.
Bro, it's absolutely scary, but that's where you have to find common ground and set the standard, right? And the more you grow together, the higher the standard becomes, right? But you got to get to common ground and then set the standard of this is how we are going to be. This is what we are going to do. And it's not this is what you believe, but I believe, but this is who we are striving to become together. But that only happens through open conversation. It can't happen with fear and intimidation. It doesn't happen with it solely happens because we've decided like we're going to live our lives together and not just live in a house together.
Man, it's for those who been on my channel for all the years I've been doing it, and even the new ones, I preach communication. Like I emphasize on communication, and as I've grown older, I've realized how important communication is. Even communicate with myself, man. I'll be walking around my house talking to myself.
As long as nobody hears you, you're fine. Like you're good.
Yo, I'm at the point where I don't even care if people hear me, yo, because it's like, yo, So this is going to run into another topic with a popular thing with men, but I've held things so long in myself because I feel like that was the manly thing to do because I was raised that way to keep things in. I've done that for most of my life to the point where I'm a volcano now.
Okay.
Like now, that's why I made this channel. Now I want to talk because I've held so much of my feelings, my emotions, all that tough yada yada in that it feels like heaven now, man, to be able to express myself and not care and just be myself and speak about these things. But for those men out there who are still struggling to express themselves, especially in relationships with their women, and because this is a channel for my two young nieces, and I have a huge female base here, what is the best way, in your opinion, for a woman to be able to communicate with her man when, one, things are going rough, two, she notices something about him and he's not being like open about it? Because I get this question a lot from my viewer base.
Okay.
What do you recommend for them to do?
Communication is important, but the how is the most important. It's not what's being said, it's definitely always how it's said. One of the things that I believe that men fear the most is rejection. And so correction is often a sign of rejection. You're rejecting who I am and trying to convert me to who you want me to be. And so if you understand that, like if you understand that thought, then it's, now how do I speak to the king inside of him that he may not see?
Yo, say that one more time.
Like how do I really speak to the king? How do I speak to his core so that he wants to listen? Like there's a difference between, hey, I need you to, why don't you ever do the dishes? Or why don't you ever clean up this room? Or why don't you ever clean up, like, why aren't you doing this? To, hey, I can't wait to see what our home looks like. I want our home to be great. And these are some things we can do to make it great together, right? Like you say the same exact thing, but you now speak to the value of what can be instead of the way you want it done. Or so I think the how is key. Whether it's being able to speak straight to the heart of the person or the guy, or it's understanding the avenue to speak or the timing. People don't understand how important timing is. I just get home from work and now it's like, why isn't this done? We need to do that. Hey, I just need a minute. Like give me a minute to relax, right? Like give me a minute to decompress, because you don't know what type of day I just had. Like give me a minute. Let me refresh, and then then let's figure out what we need to handle at home. So timing is important. Timing is key. You understand that, then conversations go a lot easier, right? Like conversations are a little bit better. So I'd say like the timing, knowing how to speak, and then the avenue. Sometimes a text message is not the way to communicate.
Facts. Right.
Your deepest thoughts, right?
I think that's always the wrong way.
Like it's sometimes writing an email.
Right.
I don't know if people do that, but like this is how I've been feeling, and you just write a 6-page email or a 6-page letter. I get through like the first paragraph, I'm like, I don't want to read this anymore.
Right.
Like I'm done with this. Like so it's understanding understanding that maybe let me try a voice memo that is encouraging, that'll help lift him up instead of tear him down, right? Like how do I do that?
Right.
Because if you understand how to do that, you now speak to the heart of the person, you speak to the core of the person, and they feel wanted and needed rather than like pushed aside and rejected. Because if I feel like I'm going home to get into an argument, I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
Right? If I feel like I'm going home to I got to deal with this when I get home, then like I'm not excited to go home. But here's the thing, I realize like I love, like absolutely, like I pull in my driveway, like I'm running inside the house. Like, cuz our home is a safe space.
That's love, man.
Right? Like our home is a safe space. Kids are going to be there, like they're at the age now they're not running to the door anymore to give me a hug. Only the little one is, but like they're like I go home, my wife is there, like I'm happy to be home. Because we've made it a haven. And for a lack of a better word, it's us against the world, right?
Yes.
Like it's us. Like we're the team,
Right.
And we preach that with our kids. Like we're a team. We're going to stick together no matter what, right? I'm not going to allow anything or anyone to break up our home. And
so that feeling has to be there, though. You have to feel like your home is your home,
bro.
We have an us.
Yes.
It's not just you. You take the S out. See, I'm doing that visual thing again. There's a you and the S, right?
Yeah.
If you take the S out, it's just you.
Yeah.
So there's no us. So
Yeah.
that feeling has to be implied into your relationship in order for a man to be.
That's it. But it goes back to value. Like you understanding,
Right.
like I value this.
Right.
I value our relationship. I value our time. So I'm going to put the time and energy into it. Right. Like that's the difference.
Right.
Like, that is the caveat. And so I'd say that that's how I'd wrap it up. Like that's.
And it's
that's
so crazy because like that seems so simple, right? Like we're talking about it, and it seems like common sense.
Yeah.
But man, I feel like we all struggle with it in somehow, some way, some fashion, right? So, let's go to the next one because we could talk about this one forever. Okay, so this is one I really like. What is something or some things you low-key wish your wife knew you disliked, or a general thing women don't know men aren't a fan of? My sister Cheryl will be probably watching this video, so be careful.
Yeah.
Your wife, be careful. So, because there's something that we all, as men, are, I won't say hate, but aren't a fan of, or wish it can be improved on with women or our women. So what's something that you have encountered in your relationship, your marriage, even your relationship with your kids as together? What's something you can comment on?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is a good one because, like, Cheryl and I, we talk about it. We talk about everything. And so I don't hide anything from her. She has all my passwords to everything.
Hey, guys, they really communicate with each other. Like, this ain't no talk. Like, I know them both. Like, they communicate about everything. So he's speaking from experience.
Yeah, I don't, we don't hide anything.
Right.
We don't, nothing is hidden. And so, there's just timing. When do I say this versus, how do I feel in that moment? So, I don't know. So, the first part is tough because there's anything that I low-key want her to know, I tell her high-key. Does that make sense?
No, I like that. The play on words was real nice.
I'll eventually tell her. It's just not working the timing. The one thing I do wish, I think in general, is that, and I don't know if it's actually possible, is that I don't have, people would understand what I say the first time I say it.
Okay.
But I do understand.
Explain that a little bit.
I do understand that women think differently from men. my kids think differently from me. What's common sense to me is like takes much explanation to others. And I'm like, why don't you just get this? If A plus B equals C, why are you making it out to be F squared? Like why do I have to explain it 6 times for you to get it? And so, but I do understand that's a personal thing. I don't know if it's a man thing, but it's certainly a personal thing that I want to be able to maybe become a better communicator, because that's probably my own struggle of like, I want to be able to communicate efficiently and effectively and have maximum impact the first time around.
Okay.
And so maybe that's just a thing for me. Like,
no, I think it's a man thing.
Okay.
I hear
All right.
this a lot coming from men.
Okay.
From women, like, and it has some sort of ego in it too. And you know, men are pretty big on that.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, we think logically. 1 + 2 = 3. So they're like, but women think a little different.
Yeah.
And I also made a video on that. Probably watch it. I'll probably put a link up there or something. But so it was great that you brought that up, because we have our gender roles, we have our different psychologies based on, you know, our DNA. What is the best way to combine that? Because I feel like that's a big part of success or just happiness or just, you know, cohesion and health in your relationship, is to, you know, your partner is not you, right?
Yeah.
I would hate to be with another Sealz, honestly. I know I love me, but I don't love me enough to be with me.
Too square.
So that's why you have to find the balance in your partner, right?
Yeah.
So because you know your partner is different like that from you, what's the best way to come to one accord?
Yeah. The best way I'd say is
from like a man psychology and mentality versus a woman psychology and mentality.
I'd say patience. Literally. Like,
that's a good one.
Like, you can't be impatient, like, even in conversation.
Right.
Like, being patient, explain it. Don't give up on the conversation, right? Like, don't give up on the thought. Just because it can get frustrating. Like, literally, it can get super frustrating. On both sides, like, you're trying to say it, like, how do I say it a different way? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, man, I'm trying to get it. That's why I'm asking more questions. But more questions may sound like you're being challenged and like you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And so understanding that. And so it's like, all right, I'm not going to give up on the conversation. I'm not going to, all right, well, you think that way and I think that way, or this way. And then, all right, we're done. We can agree to disagree. No, don't do that. Continue. Like, all right, let's get to the baseline understanding, because the goal is, like, no one is trying to actually frustrate the other person.
No, right.
You're both just trying to find understanding.
Right.
You just speak in 2 different languages and it's trying to meld into one.
Right.
So it's understanding that, like, literally understanding that and not giving up. And we've been trying that more and more, like, because before I'd be like, all right, well, whatever, like, I'm just gonna go.
And that doesn't stop, right? I've been together in marriage for 10 years and together for like 100. So, like, that doesn't stop, right?
Bro, because you still have to grow together.
Right.
You're still growing.
Right.
And
Still
you're
growing.
still,
Right.
like, she's still evolving.
Right.
I'm still evolving.
Right.
Every kid you add to the mix is a different dimension of who you are together.
Wow.
Everything that you do in your life together, whether it's a career move or something laterally, like, you're doing it together. So it breeds like, you learn more. Like, you're constantly shifting and evolving. So so you learn how communication is continually learning how to talk to each other.
Right.
And so when you think you got it, you ain't got it.
Man.
So sorry if that's no hope, but when you think you got it, there's still a lot more work.
Right.
Because you're going to grow. You're going to talk differently, and like we said in the beginning, right? Like, the relationships that you have, you'll begin to sound like them. So if I spend more time with this group of guys or this group of people, I'm going to sound more like them, which is going to affect my relationship here.
Right.
And so understanding that, there's going to take some more explanation, because when I say A plus B = C, they get it over here.
Right.
So when I come back over here,
She like, what?
and she's like just
What are you
it's not
talking-
making sense.
Where did you
right
hear
now,
that from?
Right? And so now you got to really break it down, but not give up on it, because you value this.
Right.
Right?
See, your three things
Bro,
are
like,
coming
it's-
back.
it's simple.
I want y'all to write down those 3 things he said in the beginning of the video. If you have to rewind, I'm gonna probably get the time mark, but if you have to rewind, he keeps bringing up those 3 things for a reason. He's in this. He's been doing this. So it's coming up for a reason. This is the core. This is the foundation. So, also feel like you have to learn how to break yourself down and break down your old habits and your old mindsets to be able to take in someone else, right? Because I feel like if you come into a situation thinking you like you said, you got it or you know it all, you're already putting a cap on your relationship, right? You're already putting a bad seed into your garden of love. So what's the best way for you to bring your dream and vision with your lady? What did you do to make sure that you guys stayed afloat and that you stayed on a path towards y'all goal together? And do you believe that both of y'all need the same goal in order to have like a great union? Because like I know both of y'all very smart, y'all very determined on your goals, but you're different too. Yeah. So like what's the best way to do that without breaking up and divorcing like everybody is nowadays?
So here's the beauty. Like I think understanding that marriages, and we understood this early on, that marriage isn't 50-50. You hear it all the time. It's 100-100. Right. Like you got to give 100% and all the time. Like you, and when you start giving less, you start to devalue what you've joined together. And so that means I have to understand that everyone is a collection of their past, right? Like you're a collection of your experiences. And so from your experiences, you create habits. Some of them are good habits, some of them are terrible habits, right? And so now it's evaluating what's good and what needs to change. And so there's this constant self-evaluation of like, these are some things in my life that needs to change. Understanding that, coming to grips with like, I'm not perfect, I'm a work in progress. Thank you for being on this journey with me, right? Like for Cheryl and I, I'm grateful that she decided to take this messed up guy and marry him and love him and give him 3 kids and give him a happy home. Like I'm grateful for that. And so now, how do I be the best that I can be for her and them, like them and her and the kids? And so, but that means that I have to constantly evaluate what are some of the things that in my past that's holding me back from greatness. Like something she might say and I might get mad at her over something real stupid, and it's like, but what is the cause of that? Like what are the deep underlying things that's under the surface, like under the water, that's causing the friction? What is that wave that's that undercurrent that I haven't dealt with last year or 5 years ago or from my childhood or whatever the case is? And why am I allowing that to affect the value in this relationship? Right? And so it's really coming to grips with that. As I come to grips with that, then I know that there's some things in me that's holding me back from us living our best life together. Okay. Because if she says something like, hey, take out the trash, and I'm like, well, why do I always have to take out the trash? Why I always got to wash out the dishes? Then she didn't say that to anger me or to do it, but it was more like, somebody got to take the trash out, and I'm busy right now. Can you do it? And so understanding the cause of the offense is never really the person that's saying something that we take offensive. Okay. It's often something deep-rooted. Gotcha. Right? And so it's evaluating what's deep-rooted and uprooting it.
And we need that communication.
Bro, but it's work. Like, it's work. Literally work. Right. Like, am I willing to work on myself so that we can move forward well together?
And are you willing to work, period?
Are you willing to work? Like, some people, like, you want to be married or you want a relationship, and it's just, like, the image of like being together, the image of I got my boo thing, or I got somebody to walk, I got somebody to love me. Listen, love will not sustain a marriage, right? Like love does not. You can love somebody till you're blue in the face and be divorced in 4 years, right? Like
I made a video on that too. Like, I'm gonna probably put that up there. Yo, love, it is so true, and I got a lot of backlash for that video when I made that video on that. Men do not only need love. It's one of the things we need, but love is not the overall, like, you know, pie graphs. Yeah. Love is not the whole circumference. Yeah. There are certain factors and things that build up and make up love, you know. There's different things. On the flip side of that. Okay. Right, this is an important one too. When is it time to let it go? When is it time to give up on your relationship, on your union, on your marriage? Is it, because I know you're a man of faith as well, and your vows is to stay together, you know, for eternity, no matter what. So what is your opinion as a man of faith and as a man, period, on is it a time to give up, and when is it a time to give up?
Okay, so I say this. I'm very, very, and I'll choose my words very wisely here. I think as human beings, we are, all we have is our word. All we have is our integrity. Mm-hmm. Everything else follows. So when someone says, I vow to be with you till death do we part, like that's important to me. Mm-hmm. Like that's like that goes back to value. And so I'd say this: if you can't stand by the words that you say, reevaluate that decision to get married. Right? Like be very intentional, because I think that's as a value, as my own core and personal values. Like it is important that what I say, like I stand up to it. Right. Now I understand people are changing, they change, and they, but the goal is to grow together. Like if we're not growing together as a marriage, what are we doing?
Right. Things that don't go are dead.
Like literally. Yeah. But then I do see there are a lot of people that give up way too early, because they didn't understand what marriage really was. Like we had this Hallmark, we had this Disney movie idea of marriage, and we jumped into it not understanding what marriage really was. Right. And so like we jumped in prematurely, and we're like, man, this sucks. Or I don't want to spend the rest of my life with this guy or this girl, or she only wants my money, or he only wants my time or my body, like, and not understanding like the core of marriage. And so I would say this, there are so many steps that you can take before giving up. Right. Because I think we are some of our words, our experiences and our words. Right. And so be super intentional on, hey, like, have you given it all? Like, have you really given 100%? Like if you're giving 100% and you're going and you're not getting 100% back, then evaluate. But I'd say, like, are you in yourself? Are you giving 100%, or are you giving up because you feel like it's too hard? Because marriage is hard. Let's just be real. Any relationship is hard. Right. Most relationships are on the verge of breaking up. 50% of relationships end in divorce. Right. Wow. And so understand that there is marriage is hard work, and so if you value and you communicate effectively and consistently, and if you continue to do that, like you'll work through it all. But it's the open relationship, I think, that marriages don't have. Like I married my wife all over again. Right. Like that's awesome, man. We're 10 years in, and she's like, yo, I've had couples that say, you know what? Yeah, I probably wouldn't do this again. Like I would jump into this all over again, because I'm not saying that everything was perfect, everything was smooth, but we decided that we're gonna go through it together. It was worth it. I value and listen. Here's the thing, and I don't know if I'm flipping this, but we focus so much on career and getting money and making sure that we're right or we're ready. That is not it, bro. That is not it. Like, why have a great career, a great job, all this money, and have nobody to share life with? Right? That's a bar. Like, you go home to your empty house every day. Yes. Right? Have fun with that. Like you go home and you low key depressed. Yeah. But you put on a big smile, like everything's all right. So these are, I think there's some things that were like, we weren't ready to get married, but we loved each other, we communicated, and we were like, yeah, let's do this, because I don't want to be with anybody else. Boom. When you do life together, like things come into play. And so I think people just to jump back to your question, we give up far too early without exploring the avenues of what can we do better. And together. Yeah, because it's not going my way, or it's not going the way I anticipate. Right. So how do we do this? Like, how do I get to a place where we are, like, we're looking at this and figuring, like, how do we do this together? Right. Man, that was an awesome explanation on all types of levels, man. That like literally explain what I want you to say and more, man. And I know you guys are benefiting from it. That was awesome. So the last thing before we head out, well, one of the few last things, what is something you are most proud of as the good man you are with your good woman? I don't know, man. That's a this is a shout out to Cheryl. But what is something? Because I got a good one. There's a difference between
a okay man or even a bad man having a good woman and him being grateful for her, because there's a difference between that type of need
Yeah.
and appreciation and a good man having a good woman and the
Yeah.
need they have. So
Yeah.
what are you proud of about having a good woman as a good man?
So sometimes I just don't I don't think of myself as a good man, right? Like, and I got the best woman, right? Like that. I
Ladies.
think that was like, I think that is. Here's the thing, I think we can always slip away from this, is that and we lose it in relationships often, is that like a part of our relationship, I just want her to smile, right?
Oh,
like,
right.
like I want her to be happy,
Right.
and she wants me to be happy,
Right.
right? And so a lot of our arguments is us trying to make the other person happy,
Right.
like
That's
what do you-
crazy.
Like that's really, and
Yeah.
it plays out like,
Yeah.
what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Right? That's
a whole
me
nother
trying to
episode.
make you happy,
Yes.
and you trying to make me happy,
Yep.
right? Like, oh,
Yep.
you want subs? Yeah, but I don't. Yeah,
The
Yeah,
selflessness.
we'll have subs, right?
Yeah.
But you can't eat that, so you
Right.
can't have what I want.
You're literally allergic to lettuce.
Exactly, right? Whatever the case is, it's like I'm trying to make you happy, but you're trying to make me happy.
Yeah.
And so
That's
a lot
awesome.
of the arguments is really, and it seemed, but like those can really, like, we never make decisions, or you always do this, but it goes back to the core of that is like, I just want you to be happy.
Right.
And so when we feel like we're not making, I feel like I'm not making her happy, I feel like I'm failing, right?
okay.
So like if she's having a bad day and she's not smiling, I'm like, what can I do? And she's like, I don't know if there's anything you can do. I feel like, man, I failed her. Like,
Oh, okay.
Like that's how it feels sometimes. And so
Definitely as a man.
yeah, it's like, and sometimes I think it was a recent conversation. She was like, you have to realize, MJ, like, it's not about you.
Right.
Like, you didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Like, it was, and I'm like, but are you mad at me again?
Oh,
Or there's
wow.
something that you did, like something I did that you're just not telling me about. And she's like, bro, like, it's not always about you.
Right.
Like, it was just a rough day, or I didn't get to do what I intended to do. And so, like, I'm kind of processing that.
Right.
And so it's coming to grips with that. And so, like, it's, I think, understanding that, like, my wife is awesome. She gets me, and she understands, and she has a lot of grace for me, and
Right.
I think that's
That's a big word.
That's huge. Like, she
Yes.
has so much grace. Like, she gets the worst parts of me when everybody else gets the best.
Right.
If that makes sense,
Ooh,
right?
that's deep.
Like, everybody sees the
Yeah,
smile.
I gotta think about that one.
Like, and they
Yeah.
see, but when
The
I'm
ugly parts,
like when I'm sad,
Right.
or when I'm broken, or when I'm
Right.
hurting, like a friend left me, or I'm having to deal with death,
Right.
or grieving family.
Right.
Like, I come home and I have to process that,
Yeah.
and she walks me through it, but she gives me grace to do what I need to do
Right.
to help others, so that I can
Right.
be who I need to be at home.
Right,
so, like,
because
she'll-
you are a superhero. For those who don't know, he's a superhero. He does so much for other people. She sees that side of you where you have to like strip yourself. You have to strip your superhero outfit on, your cape, and you have to be like, you have to recover.
Yeah.
And you have to realize what you did in the day. Like you
Yeah.
just said, you had to console families who lost a loved one. As a pastor, you have to hear a tragic story from one of your followers, and you're like, you're strong in that moment, but you have to come home and think about, wow, I really just heard that from someone.
Yeah.
And she is there to be your partner and help you, even in times you didn't know you needed help.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to look for in a partner. So the last thing I'm gonna ask you is, what should men look for in a life partner, and what should women look for in a life partner?
That's a good one. Everyone needs someone to complement their weaknesses.
Perfect.
Right? Like,
Yep.
you need someone to speak to your weaknesses. But here's the thing. You have to give them permission to speak to your weaknesses, or you'll be offended by it.
Even more perfect.
Right? Like,
That's a bar.
you got to give them
Yes.
permission to speak into your life.
Right.
'Cause if you don't give them permission, you'll be offended by them trying to show you who you're projecting to be in that moment. And so And so I think it works on both sides, like both sides, men or women. I need someone to be the brake when I'm the gas, and I need someone to be the gas when I'm the brake.
Balance.
And so that literally brings us together, because like I need someone to cheer for me when I'm
Right.
falling apart, and I need someone to lift me up when I like you need that, like
Right.
you literally need that. But it also has to be accompanied with an abundance of grace. I'd also say like we get lost in, man, she's just beautiful, or she looked good.
Right.
Man, looks are going to fade. It's like that. That's the looks are going to fade.
The reality.
The body is going to
Right.
change.
It's going to break down.
And so understanding that, like literally understanding that what we used to value isn't necessarily the value we should be looking for. Well, I'm not saying, hey, I go the opposite direction, but I mean, like, understand that, hey, I need someone that's going to balance my life.
Right.
Someone that I can literally grow old with. Someone that can really speak to the core of who I am. And again, like if someone speaks to your core, you have to be able to give someone permission to speak to who you are.
Right.
If you're not willing to allow someone to help you grow to be a better person, then you're not ready to be in any relationship.
Right.
Right. If you're not willing to continue to grow on your journey of growth, then you're just playing a game.
Right.
Like, you just want someone to be on your arm. Here's the reality. As you allow someone to speak into your life, you grow. Like
Right.
but you have to give them permission. Like
Wow.
literally give them permission.
You know, that reminds me of that Music Soul Child song, man. Let me sing a line real quick.
Do your thing.
I'll love you when your hair turns gray, yeah. I'll still love you if you gain a little weight, yeah. The way I feel for you will always be the same as long as your love don't change.
Love it.
YouTube, don't copyright me. I know I sound just like him.
Say, yeah.
You know, don't. I know I sound just like him, but I had to say that, man, because that's what I thought about. Why did I just do that?
I don't know.
That's what I
Like-
thought about when you said that, man. I was like, wow, that's true.
Yeah.
Everything breaks down, but your love can't.
Yeah.
Right? That's the most solid thing ever, man. Bro, you dropped some gems today, man. I don't think I ever saw the side of you.
I appreciate
You know what I
having
mean?
me, man.
Because you're a Giants fan, I thought you weren't that smart, but you just proved otherwise. And I just want to say I'm super proud of you, man. Like, thank you for coming on, man, and being my first guest, bro.
Oh,
like,
appreciate
you were
it.
the first person I thought of when I said I wanted to talk to good guys, man. Good men,
Oh,
great men,
appreciate
men
it,
of
man.
valor, men of solid men, man. You were the first person. I was like, man, MJ is the perfect guy, and I know y'all feel the same. You know, let me know in the comments how y'all feel about MJ, my bro. I only mess with great guys. I got good brothers on my team, man. So he's one of them, man. So I just want to, give you some a little bit of time for takeaways, dialogue of inspiration, whatever you want to say, final takeaways.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can also shout out whatever you want to shout out about yourself too.
Let's go with this. Don't give up. Right? Like
Okay.
let's wherever you are in your life, don't give up. Right? If you're seeking a spouse, if you're searching for love, don't give up. Understand that there's going to be challenges with or without. But it's so much better to go through challenges with someone, right? To have someone in your corner. But don't give up. Don't, in spite of where you've been and what's happened in your life in the past, I'd like to encourage everyone. Listen, don't give up. Don't give up. There's more. You still have purpose, and it's just discovering that now that you're in that journey of discovering who you are in your life. So, man, don't give up.
Yeah, that was beautiful, man. I'm going to listen to that every day. I'm going to remember that every day. And so, yeah, that wraps it up, folks. Thank you for coming to Sealz the Man's first one-on-one conversation with great men. It's an honor, and I still thank you, man. I'm probably going to thank you for the rest of my days for this. and I'm sure we're going to do something soon, man. So if you guys didn't know, go to radiantchurch.com. That's his church. Go to my...
Radiant Church NJ.
Oh, NJ,
You don't
because
send
he
them
has
somewhere else.
multiple. Make sure you go to Radiant Church NJ. That's NancyJackie.com. We from Jersey, baby. And go to you guys, Sealz the Man on all platforms. Go to I Am Sealz, my website. Yeah, man, it's been a blessing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you to Bravery Studios for doing this. And that's all. Peace and blessings. Goodbye.